Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a happy or at least pleasant start to your Friday. It is October 6th. It is day 590 of Russia's war crime filled 3 day military operation. I'm just going to go through a few things. First of all, I'm going to cover off the Russian losses in the last 24 hours. There's been a big uptick. I'm going to cover off a little bit on the unfortunate, I don't know what else to call it, like genocidal war crime strike on a funeral procession yesterday by the Russians in the Kharkiv region. And then I'm going to cover off a few international tidbits that are very, very interesting. The Ukrainians may be expanding their efforts well outside of their borders, potentially, and just a few other things, and we'll try to end on a happy note for you. So to start off with, the Russian losses over the last 24 hours, saw another uptick in the personnel loss, 620. That's kind of getting up to I would say the mid-range. We've seen 1,000 and I think it was 1,100 we saw approximately as the high, and we've seen in the 300s as the low. So 620 seems to be about the middle. 20 tanks, which is really, really good. Russia can't produce that many tanks. And the ones that I've been seeing them lose, it's not the T-55s that are somewhere out there, the T-30s and T-10s and whatever, my God. But they've been losing some T-73s, 80s, and a 90 here and there. So it's good. It's good. Ukraine's getting more and more tanks online and repaired and back and all that sort of stuff, and the Russians are losing more and more. 30 APVs. That tells me, again, between the tanks and the APVs, that tells me that one or both of the parties are, committing offensive operations. You don't typically, like I said, about a week ago or whatever, when the APVs kind of go, the armored personnel vehicles, when those go down, that number goes down, that typically tells you the Russians aren't transporting a lot of troops. They're not moving forward or backward a lot. They'll move their APVs into the back lines and less of them will be destroyed. So when you see a large amount of them, once in a while you'll see like the Ukrainians will get a motor pool, but in general, when you see 20 tanks and 30 APVs, those are typically offensive military kit. So therefore you're thinking the Russians are attacking in various places, and that is in fact the case. The Russians were attacking in the east and in the south, and in both places the Ukrainians did a fantastic job holding them off. 23 artillery systems, sadly that's low, but it's still good. 2 MLRS, 29 UAVs, and 35 vehicles, which 35 vehicles is pretty good because those are logistics. Without logistics, you have no army. The one thing I wanted to say, again, I'm always miffed at the Ukrainian military and the reporting. If you see right here, I've got it as 316 planes. They're still sitting at 315. I know it's 320 something, but for some reason they knocked it down by one. Their account is 315. We know that SU-30, 2730. Yeah, I think it was an SU-30. Was definitely taken out in a field, and then all of a sudden they took it away. I mean, it was validated. I'm also mad at them because of the fact that yesterday, about 24 hours ago, maybe less, the Ukrainians took out an S-400 in Russian territory in the eastern Ukraine. I can't remember, it was north of Belgorod, where it was, but anyways, it was basically in western Russia, eastern Ukraine area, but on Russian territory. They took out an S-400. There's only so many of those things around, and they're not making more of them, and they're $600 million a piece for each, particular, unit, complete unit. So it's not, I don't know if we're going to get visual confirmation, but it's not on here. It hasn't been added to the anti-warfare system. So anyways, little bit of whatever. I want these numbers to be higher, obviously, and but I've been sort of mentally tracking and visually tracking some of them, and I don't know what the thought process is. Why does the Ukrainian military have planes still at 315? Why did they knock it down one? Why haven't they counted some of the runway kills that they've made on these planes? Why is the S-400 not included? But anyways, if we see the anti-aircraft warfare systems go up to 641 tomorrow, and there's no new ones that they're including as that one, then I'll increase the total. 89 billion, 809 million. Tomorrow, they should cross $90 billion. The Russians in US dollar estimated losses, insane. So to some I don't know, horrifying news. It's just an update basically. So in the Kharkiv region, Russian strike this morning. Oh, and I'm gonna move. No one. No. No, I'll leave that there. Sorry. Okay. Russia struck Kharkiv this morning. A child, a boy, 10 years old. My condolences to his family and loved ones. Over 20 people have been injured. All the injured are receiving the necessary assistance. The rescue operation is ongoing, and I thank everyone who is helping our people. I also express my gratitude to all our warriors who, despite everything, are moving forward, defeating the occupiers and bringing justice for Russian crimes closer. Our resilience, our movement, and the daily losses of the occupiers are the response to the Russian terror. This is Kharkiv. This is not a military target. These are civilians. This was downtown. Look what it did to those buildings. Right? I tell you, the people in Kharkiv, like it's a beautiful, vibrant city, and they're trying to get back on their feet, and they're always trying to live their life normally, but they're so close to the front lines, and every once in a while the Russians take a pot shot, and I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't one of those Onyx missiles or a couple, which are anti-ship missiles that they've repurposed for ground-to-ground. The strike yesterday that actually has taken the 36 hours ago, also in the Kharkiv region. It's at first they thought it struck a grocery store, and then updates came out that it struck a funeral procession, and 51 people were actually killed in that funeral procession in a village. Now, I've seen reports that the village had a population of 300. Then I've also seen it had a population of 500. The sad thing is, this man was a Ukrainian soldier and a hero, and he was killed fighting Russians last summer. His body was finally returned to his family in the village of Hroza. So he's passed away. His body was returned. The village decided to have a funeral commemorating him. Russia fired a missile and hit that funeral procession and killed everybody else in this picture, his family, and 48 others, for a total of 51. This is why we fight. And this piece of garbage, I don't even need the volume. Kremlin spokesman Peskov reacted to the brutal attack on the village of Hroza. We repeat that we do not strike at civilian objects. Strikes are made on military infrastructure, military personnel, and representatives of the military leadership. So, which one of these represents the military leadership? So, along those same lines, there's a report that Ukrainian special forces conducted special operations in Sudan against the Russian PMC, private military contractor Wagner, and their local allies. This reports Babel. And remember, Budanov said, Ukraine will destroy Russian war criminals anywhere in the world. So, is this Ukrainian? Is this in Sudan? I'm actually watching this first time with you guys. Here comes a drone on whatever that is, and then there was a strike where you saw those people walking. So these are snipers, FPV drones, another strike. I mean, it's the same sort of setup as we see in Ukraine, but this is in Sudan. And I don't have much context. But like Mossad back in the day, if the Ukrainians have started to expand their borders and hunt down those that have committed atrocities against them in other places, that's pretty interesting. In the disinformation space, I gotta read this first. This is Putin. Prigozhin's plane crashed because the Wagner leadership got drunk, then set off a hand grenade during the flight. Pretty detailed information for a plane crash.
Руководитель Следственного комитета докладывал буквально на днях, в телах погибших при авиакатастрофе обнаружены фрагменты ручных гранат.
He's saying grenade fragments were found in the bodies there.
Установленный факт. Результат экспертизы, проведенной Следственным комитетом Российской Федерации.
So he's basically, he's basically saying he has firsthand knowledge that Prigozhin's plane, with all of its Wagner leadership, was basically took off from St. Petersburg, and they all decided to get day drunk and set off a grenade and blow their plane up. That plane did not get taken down because of a hand grenade. That plane was taken out of the sky with the engine still running on one side and the wing torn off the other side. Something large took that plane apart in the sky and stopped it dead. It wasn't carrying forward with its momentum. It was in a flat spin. Something took its wing off, and it sure as heck wasn't an M51 grenade. This is from Artur Rehi, a little summary of Putin's speech. So Putin stated that Russia is tasked with creating a new world and is capable of significantly contributing to the new global system. He claimed that no one would pay attention to Russia because of how incredibly arrogant the West was. So he's going to sneak up on the West, and Russia's on the way up. Okay, I got a little proof to show you that that's not the case. As far as Ukraine is concerned, Russia did not start the war in Ukraine, but is trying to end it. Try to guess which Ukrainian city this is. I'm gonna guess it's Bakhmut, but it could be Mariupol. It could be anywhere. For the West, anyone who behaves independently turns into someone who needs to be eliminated. And no idea what that means. Tell me a Western country that has behaved independently, because they all have, and then has been eliminated. Income. This is Putin Again, he states that their inflation is 4% and their economy is doing great, but he asserts that Russia's real income has increased by more than 12% and that the defense and security spending, which now accounts for nearly 6% of the country's overall GDP, has roughly doubled. That is a lie. First of all, their real incomes have fallen dramatically. Inflation has gone through the roof. The ruble's value has cratered, and they are spending over 32% of their GDP this upcoming year on the military alone. 32%. Western countries spend 2 to 3%, and they're considered, good, upstanding NATO citizens, right? I kid you not. I don't know who this. I don't know where this lady was speaking, but this is the Vice Speaker of the State Duma, Anna Kuznetsova. Our soldiers found documents on the sale of children and human organs for which Ukraine derives 7% of its national budget with the support of private British military companies and Coca-Cola. So if, well, the serious face. You don't need to hear. So I'm not even going to do any research on this, but if Ukraine had $1 trillion budget, I don't know, make it up, $1 trillion annual budget. She's saying 7% of the national budget comes from the support of the private British military companies and Coca-Cola and organ sales of children. I'm sorry. What ruble doing? This is a new historic low. It takes 101.41 Russian rubles to buy $1. And it could be accelerating because 6 hours before that it was 99. So it's past and trust me, Vlad does not like that triple digit number. The last time that happened, he called together all of the banking and finance executives, etc., in the country, and basically said, "Fix it." And they raised inflation, they raised interest rates again and again and again. They're not going to be able to stop this. Russian exports nothing except for oil and gas, and they export it on the cheap. And everything they import is 50, 100%, 200% more expensive. Along the same lines, sorry. I might get in trouble for this one. So just to be clear, this was a sort of a not safe for work video. This is a video from a drone attack during a Syrian military graduation in Homs. 100 were killed and 240 were injured. These are all injured, but they're all gonna live. They're all okay. YouTube censors, they're fine. But okay, so the belief is that in Syria, in Homs, somebody with I would say above average capabilities was able to fly at least one drone. It could be one large one. It just says one drone, but I haven't seen anything that says more or whatever. But one drone target a very large Syrian military graduation ceremony, and was able to eliminate 100 Syrian soldiers and wound 240 more. That's a substantial drone or drones. If you drop a Shaheed, for example, type style drone, in the middle of a parade. It could do something like that. If you drop a Mavic APV or the FPV drones into a large parade like that, it's not going to create those kind of injuries. This was a very large drone strike. Now, could it be the Free Syrian Army? Could it be rebels? Could it be whatever? Yeah, sure. Could this be Ukrainians providing and or doing it themselves? Special forces striking back at someone who's supporting Russia? Absolutely. So it just it's just very, very interesting between the various things that we're seeing going on in Mali and Syria and places like that. The Ukrainians are either getting their fingers into it, doing it themselves, or are exporting potentially tactics, intentionally or not, tactics, technology, etc., to strike against their enemies. But it's very interesting. So you've got the Sudan, right? Wagner being hit in Sudan. You've seen Wagner being hit in Mali in a couple of different ways. Then you see the Syrians being hit in Homs. And here's the drone attack on Syria. College kills at least 89, wounds hundreds more. The number of people KIA when a drone laden with explosives hit a military college graduation ceremony in western city of Homs rose to 89, with nearly 300 wounded. So that it's actually over 100 there, and I'm sure the 300 wounded has flipped to the KIA side of things. But 5 children and 31 women were among those that were KIA. Syria's state-run news agency SANA reported. No group is claiming responsibility for the attack. In an earlier statement, the defense ministry blamed terrorist organizations supported by well-known international parties. Among those with critical injuries were families invited to the ceremony, as well as graduating students, it said. The Syrian armed forces said the attack was unprecedented and vowed to, with full force and determination, basically get whoever did it. Interesting. Quickly, with the U.S. having trouble maybe providing some aid and assistance in the near future, it's really good to see that Zelensky's been meeting with other leaders. He met with Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, and strengthening Ukraine's air defense as well as the security of Odessa region and the Black Sea is critical to ensuring European and global stability. We are working together towards this end. So expect to see more announcements between Ukraine and France. Germany, same thing. Zelensky met with Olaf Scholz. Germany's working on providing Ukraine with additional Patriot system for the winter months. Amazing. One Patriot missile system covers a lot of ground and can free up the tier 2 and 3 missile systems for other targets. So that's amazing. I'm going to leave you with John Sweeney for a second here.
War Diary Day 588.
And John Sweeney is fantastic. He's doubled up his hat. So that's his normal orange hat. And this one is the Vladimir Putin do F off hat.
Of Russia's war against Ukraine. Today the Russian army targeted a village near Kupiansk. I was there last year. And they targeted, I think, a cafe. It's a small place, that's where everybody hangs out. And they've killed 48 people. The numbers will go up. This is seriously injured die. This is a war crime. This is a war crime like all the other war crimes. The ones that started in 2000 in Chechnya, the Second Chechen War, when I first called Vladimir Putin a war criminal. The war crimes perpetrated against Georgia in 2008. The war crimes perpetrated by the Russian army in Syria, supporting the monster Bashar al-Assad. The war crimes of the first invasion of Ukraine in 2014, and the war crimes of the second invasion of Ukraine last year. And what I cannot believe is that there are useful idiots in the West who are supporting and backing the Kremlin's narrative. I cannot believe that voters in Slovakia have elected a pro-Putin government. I cannot believe that the far right of the Republican Party, the MAGA people, have decided that it is a smart and clever thing to unseat the Speaker and to do a deal to secure the continuance of the American government without blocking aid to Ukraine as part of the deal. To the useful idiots in the West of the Kremlin, you have blood in your hands. You have blood on your hands. And to Vladimir Putin, do fuck off. Blood from Kiev.
He's an international treasure. I won't delve too far into politics, but I will say that a lot of people are like, well, why did the Democrats help to get rid of the Speaker of the House in the U.S., potentially delaying aid for Ukraine? Well, the thing is that Kevin McCarthy promised the Democrats that he would, shortly after the Democrats worked with him to enact a continuing resolution for 45 days to keep the government open, he promised that there would be a second separate up or down vote on Ukrainian aid. As soon as the vote went through for the continuing resolution, McCarthy basically told his caucus there was no deal with the Democrats. There will not be a Ukrainian aid bill coming forth. And so as soon as he said that, they're like, all right, we're done. Time to move on. Bye, Felicia. So they voted him out. So John's right. It is terrible that the Republicans flipped on their own leader to vote him out. But on the flip side, that's why it's happened, because he's untrustworthy, and he actually visited Ukraine. He knows people's lives are at stake. Very seldom can you pass a bill and instantly save lives or prevent their deaths, or so anyways, sometimes it's the devil that you don't know. Last two things, try to leave on a bit of a higher note. Do I have two things or just the one? No, I'm not going to do that one. Just the one. It's just the one. I wanted to leave on something positive. Another 19 Ukrainian children were returned from the occupied territories. Some of these people were tricked into going to air quotes summer camps, etc. I don't know the story behind this particular group or how they were rescued, but there are Ukrainian heroes working behind the scenes. You'll never see their pictures, you'll never know their names, and they're constantly working to get these kids back to their families. Sorry, the video quality is not great, but the quality of the video is great, if you know what I mean. That is what we fight for. To any NAFO fellows who watch this, if you could maybe sort of try and step up and help some of the YouTubers that are under attack. There are a bunch of YouTubers that have been taken down for fake copyright strikes, that sort of thing. Every time a YouTube content creator gets taken down, even for a day, it potentially costs Ukraine money. So if you're able to, contact YouTube, support those YouTubers. I know the Combat Vet was taken down, ATP, Mercado Media, maybe others. I'm not following it super closely, but I do know that all their channels have been taken down for different copyright strikes, and they're not generating dollars and awareness for the Ukrainians. So I know the NAFO network is amazing, and if any fellows out there could step up and help those those YouTubers in any way, shape, or form, it would be much appreciated. Have a great Friday. Slava Ukraini.